it's Amelia, welcome back to my channel. If you've seen the title of today's video, we're going to be seeing how many Harry Potter characters should have been expelled. And there are quite a few. Turns out Hogwarts isn't the safest school. I've made a list of all the characters that should have been expelled, so let's see which one is the worst. So sit down, grab some tea, and let's get into it. That's become a thing now. I don't even drink tea. First, let's start with an obvious one. Harry using Sectum Sempra. Harry using Sectum Sempra on Draco. So, if you don't know, and I'm sure you already do, Harry finds Draco in Moaning Myrtle's bathroom, crying. Draco immediately pulls out his wand and they start dueling. I need a wand. It feels weird not having a wand. Let me go get one. The Elder Wand. That was smooth. Hi. And Harry remembers a spell in the Half-Blood Prince's book, Sectum Sempra, 4 enemies. The problem is Harry doesn't know what the spell is, but he casts it anyway. The result is absolutely awful. Draco is like slashed on the chest and the face, and just everywhere. But what did you expect? You used a spell that was 4 enemies. He's stupid. Snape arrives and is able to heal Draco. But like I said, the important part is Harry doesn't know what the spell is. And I feel like that should be a rule in Hogwarts. If you don't know what the spell is, don't use it. But I guess there is an argument there. Harry wasn't completely unprovoked, because when Draco drew his wand, he cast the Cruciatus Curse. That's one of the unforgivable curses, and people have gone to Azkaban for using it. So if he used it, he should have been expelled. And this is where the book and the movie are very different. So Snape takes Draco to the hospital wing and then comes back for Harry. He demands to know where Harry learnt the spell, and Harry lies, claiming he saw it in a library book. Snape obviously knows Harry's lying because it's Snape's spell, and orders him to bring him his potions book. That is actually when Harry hides the book in the room of requirement and uses Ron's textbook as a substitute. Snape then gives him detention every Saturday for the rest of the term, which means Harry misses the Quidditch final. So in the book, Harry doesn't really get away with it, but in the movie, he kind of does. Draco gets seriously injured. Snape heals him, and then the story just moves on. Okay. And honestly, teenage Snape making a spell labelled 4 enemies, kind of a red flag. And I guess if he was found out, he also should have been expelled. And also, how did no one else discover the book until Harry did? Like, there's so many questions. Should Harry have been expelled? Why did I say it like that? And my answer is absolutely. Let's move on to something a little lighter, and that's Harry sneaking into Hogsmeade without a permission slip. So, in Prisoner of Azkaban, third-year students are allowed to visit Hogsmeade on designated weekends, but they need a permission slip to do so. They don't need one for the Triwizard Tournament, though. And unsurprisingly, Vernon Dursley doesn't sign the permission slip. So, Harry is stuck at Hogwarts while Ron and Hermione are enjoying Hogsmeade. He eventually discovers a way to sneak out of Hogwarts using a secret passageway behind the statue of the One-Eyed Witch, and Harry uses it to get into Hogsmeade without anyone knowing, meaning he's deliberately trying to avoid being caught. So he is breaking a safeguard rule, I guess, because there is a reason why Hogwarts requires this permission. Hogsmeade is outside of the school grounds. They're wandering around a wizarding village where there are shops, pubs, potentially bad people, and in Harry's case, Sirius Black, because at the time it was believed that Sirius Black was hunting Harry, and that means Hogwarts was under additional security. There's another little rule-breaking layer here. Harry used the Marauder's map, and the map is technically contraband, and Fred and George stole it. He's running this like tiny criminal operation just to buy sweets. All roads lead to Hogsmeade. So, should Harry have been expelled? We'll keep this one at a no.
You attacked a teacher!
Hello? Yes, this is Harry attacking Snape.
Expelliarmus!
At the end of Prisoner of Azkaban, Harry, Ron and Hermione find out that Sirius was innocent and Peter Pettigrew was the real traitor. Snape arrives at the Shrieking Shack and wants to hand Sirius over to the Dementors, so Harry raises his wand and stuns him. But here's the huge problem. Harry attacks a teacher.
You attacked a teacher!
Where is that coming from? But was Snape actually threatening to them? I'd argue with yeah. Snape wants to hand Sirius over to the Dementors. So, could Harry have been expelled? I'd say yeah. So I thought I'd add this one in because it's quite interesting, and that's Harry fighting a basilisk. Because technically during all of this, Harry is breaking so many school rules. At the end of the Chamber of Secrets, Harry discovers that Ginny had been taken to the chamber. He follows the Tom Riddle diary and eventually ends up in the Chamber of Secrets, where he finds Ginny unconscious and Tom Riddle waiting for him. Tom Riddle, Voldemort, reveals that he had been manipulating Ginny all along, and that the creature attacking the students was a basilisk. And then the basilisk appears. And Harry, being a 12-year-old boy, now has to fight it. And Harry isn't trained for this. He's not an aura. He's a second-year student. Just another normal day at Hogwarts. He has entered a forbidden location, gone somewhere without permission, confronted a dangerous magical creature, and engaged in seriously dangerous magical combat. But here's the problem. What else was he supposed to do? So yeah, Harry wasn't looking for an adventure. He was trying to rescue another student, his friend. He was trying to rescue his friend. And Hogwarts had already failed at doing so. Hogwarts was preparing to shut the school. Why didn't they shut it earlier? I don't know. But by that point, Harry had already gone down to the chamber. So the fact that a 12-year-old student had to fight this massive giant snake is a massive safeguarding failure from the school itself. So, should Harry have been expelled for this? I'm going to say, absolutely not. He's fine. A little traumatised, but I'm sure he'll be fine. Now let's move on to Harry forming Dumbledore's army. In Order of the Phoenix, the Ministry of Magic appoints Dolores Umbridge as the new Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher, and she refuses to teach practical defensive magic. This becomes a huge problem because Voldemort has returned. Therefore, Harry, Ron and Hermione decide to secretly teach this defensive magic, Dumbledore's army. But here's where they're breaking the rules. Umbridge introduces Educational Decree number 24. Basically, it prohibits student organisations or meetings that haven't been approved by the High Inquisitor. So the DA becomes a banned organisation. Also, Harry isn't the only one breaking the rules. The DA has dozens of members. So if Harry gets expelled for it, half of the school will also get expelled for it. And Harry almost does get expelled anyway. Umbridge attempts to have Harry expelled when she finds out about the DA. However, Dumbledore takes responsibility and escapes rather spectacularly. So, should Harry have been expelled? Yes. Under Dumbridge's... I just tried to put Dolores and Umbridge together and it became... Yeah. What I was trying to say is, yes, he should have been expelled under Umbridge's rules. Why am I struggling to speak today? Okay. Here's another big popular one. Harry and Ron flying the Ford Angular to Hogwarts. At the beginning of the Chamber of Secrets, the barrier at platform 9 3/4 won't let Harry and Ron through. Instead of getting an adult or finding another way to contact Hogwarts, the two 12-year-olds decide, let's just fly to Scotland. They don't have their licence. I mean, they're not old enough to drive. They don't have an adult supervising them. They literally crash into the Whomping Willow, which then... When they arrive at Hogwarts, they are met with Professor McGonagall and Snape. They receive detention, and the incident is reported to their parents. Arthur Weasley is also investigated by the Ministry, so they definitely don't get away with it, they just don't get expelled. They only wanted to do this because they wanted to get to Hogwarts in time. But should they have been expelled? Honestly, yes. Okay, so here's kind of a controversial one. Harry, Ron and Hermione leaving Umbridge in the Forbidden Forest. So in the Order of the Phoenix, they convince her that they have a secret weapon in the Forbidden Forest. So Umbridge follows them to their trap. They lead Umbridge deeper into the forest where they encounter centaurs. And that's when everything goes horribly wrong for Umbridge. They knew the forest is dangerous. Even though Harry didn't lay a hand on her, he deliberately creates a dangerous situation where Umbridge gets hurt. But let's be honest, Umbridge is horrible. So should Harry have been expelled? This one's pretty close. If a student deliberately lured a teacher into a serious situation, expulsion would have been right. I thought I'd add this one, but this is Harry, Ron and Hermione fighting the troll. Troll in the dungeon! In Philosopher's Stone, Professor Quirrell announces that there is a troll in the dungeon, and the students are immediately told to go to their common rooms. However, earlier that day, Hermione had been crying in the girls' bathroom after Ron made fun of her. So instead of telling a teacher, they decide to go looking for her, and that's when they encounter the troll in the dungeon. And when they decide to fight the troll, Ron casts Wingardium Leviosa. It is clever, but risky, because Ron hasn't mastered the spell yet. Similar to unknown spells, I feel like there should be a rule where if you haven't mastered a spell yet, don't do it. However, they're not fighting the troll because they're trying to prove themselves. They're fighting it because they're saving Hermione. And McGonagall does actually punish them. They lose points for going after Hermione. And should they have been expelled? Not really. We'll let it slide. Again. Another obvious one. Harry, Ron and Hermione bring Polyjuice Potion and stealing ingredients. So they want to find out if Draco is the heir of Slytherin. And what's their plan? Brew Polyjuice Potion, which takes like a month or months, I don't remember. And it's extremely complicated and requires ingredients that they don't have, so they steal them. Do they have permission? Absolutely not. And they're doing it because they want to impersonate other students. And then, just to top it all off, Hermione gets the potion wrong. She literally turns into a cat because she accidentally uses cat hair instead of actual hair. So, should they have been expelled? Yeah, I'd say so. And on the same subject, Harry and Ron impersonating Crabbe and Goyle and drugging them with sleeping cupcakes. cupcakes. Sounds absolutely ridiculous when I said it out loud. Hermione gives Harry and Ron 2 cupcakes containing sleeping potion, and they leave them somewhere where Crabbe and Goyle will find them. They obviously eat them and immediately fall asleep. Harry and Ron then go steal their robes and uses Polyjuice potion to pretend to be them. They're committing magical identity fraud. And should they have been expelled? I'd say yeah. So my next one is Hermione punching Draco. The Ministry decides that Buckbeak should be executed, and Harry, Ron and Hermione are sad and devastated by this. Draco, however, is delighted by the result. So Hermione walks up to Draco, punches him in the face, and then she just walks away. Hermione absolutely broke a rule. She's not even defending herself. She just deliberately hits another student. So should Hermione be expelled for this? Absolutely not. Queen. However, detention would have been reasonable, even suspension. Draco's behaviour itself also contributed in the hostile situation.
You foul, loathsome and evil little cockroach. Hermione, no. It's not worth it.
Another Hermione incident, her body binding Neville. In Philosopher's Stone, Harry, Ron and Hermione are planning to sneak out of Gryffindor Tower at night, and Neville tries to stop them because he knows they're breaking the rules. So she uses the full body binding curse. Protectus totalis. You know, that was close enough. Neville is completely immobilized, and Harry, Ron and Hermione just leave him. It's kind of mean. And she also does it specifically so they can break the rules. So should Hermione have been expelled? Well, yes. Gosh, here's another Hermione one, and that's setting a teacher on fire. Gosh, she was all about school rules, yet she probably broke the most. So in Philosopher's Stone, during the Quidditch match against Gryffindor and Slytherin, Hermione believes that Snape is jinxing Harry's broom. So she sneaks around, takes out her wand, and sets Snape's robes on fire. So she, in her mind, she's trying to save Harry. So would Hogwarts expel her if they found out? Maybe. She set a teacher's cloak on fire. So we'll leave it at maybe, probably, yes or no. Honestly, I don't know anymore. Oh my god, here's another Hermione one. This one we don't actually see in the films, and that's Hermione kidnapping Rita Skeeter. It just gets worse and worse. In Goblet of Fire, Hermione finds out that Rita Skeeter is an unregistered animagus. She can turn into a beetle, and she's basically acting as a fly on the wall, and that's how she gets the gossip. So Hermione catches her in the act and traps Rita in a jar. She tells Rita that she knows she's an animagus and will report her to the authorities if she doesn't stop writing malicious articles. And Hermione does eventually release her. They're both doing something illegal. Would Hermione have been expelled? Yes! Yeah. Here's a pretty tame one, but it's Neville losing the password list. In Prisoner of Azkaban, Neville has a little bit of a problem. He's terrible at remembering passwords. As we know, Gryffindor Tower is protected by passwords, so Neville writes down all the current passwords on a piece of paper, which seems harmless until he loses it. And this happens during the year where Sirius Black is trying to get into Hogwarts to find Harry. That's what makes this situation a little bit more serious. Serious? Oh, oh no, my battery's about to die. You can sit on that serious joke for I'm back! Oh yes, Sirius Black finds his password list. And he does actually get into the dormitory where Ron is sleeping because he's trying to find Scabbers, Peter Pettigrew. Neville is someone who is constantly worrying about getting in trouble and then accidentally lets an escaped prisoner into their dormitory. So should Neville be expelled? Absolutely not. He obviously didn't do it deliberately. At most, maybe a serious warning. I'm on fire. I'll exit stage left. So I did actually find one for Luna. 1 second. Luna sneaking into the Forbidden Forest to pet the Thestrals. So in Order of the Phoenix, Luna is one of the only students who can see the Thestrals. Most people can't see them because they only appear to people who have experienced death. And she is fascinated by them as gentle, intelligent creatures. And so yeah, Luna goes into the Forbidden Forest. Does she actually go into it, or is it like on the outside of it? Either way, it's forbidden. Of all the people that sneak into the Forbidden Forest, Luna is probably the least concerning. Would Luna have been expelled? Absolutely not.
I can see them too. You're just as sane as I am.
Here's a popular one, Fred and George. Fred and George in general. But mainly their entire business and how they experimented on first years. Wizards, weasel wizards. I don't know. Weasley's Wizard Wheezers eventually sell practical joke products and sometimes can cause genuine harm. Some of their products include skiving snack boxes, sweets designed to make students ill so they can get out of class, puking pastels induces vomiting, fainting fancies causes a person to faint, nosebleed nougat causes nosebleeds, and they were experimenting their products on first years. Yeah, so why weren't they expelled? I guess they choose to leave Hogwarts before they can actually get expelled. They set off fireworks during an exam. Again, expulsion material, but they're leaving anyway. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Dean Thomas, helping create the underground resistance. So this is during the Deathly Hallows. After Voldemort takes control of the Ministry, Hogwarts becomes a very different place. Snape is headmaster, and the resistance that began as Dumbledore's army continues underground. But why would this get him expelled? Dean is committing multiple offences. He's resisting the new government, refusing to accept Voldemort's in charge, and associating himself with other resistant members. Under Snape's Hogwarts, this could result in serious punishment. So Dean isn't risking expulsion or detention, he is risking his life. And this is why Dean is an incredibly brave character and also very underrated. He's not a character with a prophecy, he isn't the chosen one, he isn't a member of the Order. He's just a teenager who knows what's happening at Hogwarts is wrong. So should Dean have been expelled? No! Dean wasn't breaking the rules, he was breaking Voldemort's rules. And honestly, good for him. Right, moving on to something a little darker. Draco attempting to Avada Kedavra Dumbledore. In The Half-Blood Prince, Voldemort gives Draco a mission. Draco is only 16, and if he refuses, Voldemort threatens him and his family. And so Draco actually starts plotting all of this at Hogwarts. He repairs the vanishing cabinet in the Room of Requirement, and this allows Death Eaters to eventually get into Hogwarts. Massive security breach. And then Draco tries to get a bottle of poisoned mead to Dumbledore, and Ron accidentally drinks it. And then Draco uses a cursed necklace to try and get to Dumbledore. Katie Bell accidentally touches it. So all of those are definitely expulsion immediately. And when the moment actually comes, he can't do it. But anyway, should he have been expelled? Yeah. Here's another Draco one. Using a slur. In Chamber of Secrets, Draco insults Hermione by using the term mudblood, and it's one of the most offensive terms in the wizarding world. It refers to a witch or wizard born to muggle parents and is used as a slur to dehumanize them. And Draco obviously knows exactly what he's doing because he's grown up in this environment. Hogwarts doesn't punish him for it at all. Because he doesn't use it once, he uses it quite a bit. Draco spends years looking down on Hermione because she is a Muggleborn, yet Hermione repeatedly outperforms Draco academically and magically. So Draco's whole belief of blood status determining your magical worth is repeatedly disproven by the Queen herself. Should Draco have been expelled? Yes, he did it so many times. Here's another Draco one. Attacking Harry on the train. So yeah, in Half-Blood Prince, Harry Potter is on the train and suspects Draco has something to do with Death Eaters. He thinks he might be a Death Eater. So he follows him to the compartment under the invisibility cloak and tries to spy on him. And Draco notices Harry and attacks him with the body binding curse. Petrificus totalis. Petrificus totalis. Harry is immobilized. He hurts Harry. He puts the invisibility cloak on him and he is just left there, only to be saved by Luna. So, should Draco have been expelled? Yeah! Here's another interesting one, and a very obvious one. Romilda Vane, trying to drug Harry with love potion. Why is love potion a thing? Romilda Vane is a Gryffindor student who has a massive crush on Harry. So she tries to give him chocolate containing love potion. And you know, the issue is Harry doesn't consent to this. He has no idea that the chocolates are laced with love potion. So if Harry had eaten them, he would have been completely obsessed with Romilda Vane. It's basically the film Obsession. But then Harry doesn't actually eat them. Ron accidentally eats them. She should have been expelled. Okay, who's next, you ask? Whoa! James Potter publicly humiliating Snape. So in the Order of the Phoenix, Deathly Hallows flashback, James decides to mess with Snape purely for entertainment. Snape hasn't attacked James, he isn't threatening anyone. James then uses magic to flip Snape upside down, exposing his underwear to everyone. He's bullying Snape. Should James have been expelled? Of course. Especially because this is part of a repeated pattern of bullying. Speaking of the Marauders, them becoming unregistered animagi. They learned how to do this because Remus Lupin was a werewolf, because he couldn't control himself as a werewolf, so they could hang out whilst he was in werewolf form. It is a very loyal thing to do for their friend, but legally it wasn't legal at all. And also think about what unregistered animagi can do. James can walk around Hogwarts as a stag, Sirius can walk around as a dog. That's an enormous security loophole, which Peter Pettigrew does eventually do. So should they have all been expelled? Absolutely, yeah. So now we're going to speak about someone who should have never gone to Hogwarts in the first place. Tom Riddle. Voldemort, yeah. Tom Riddle discovered the existence of Horcruxes whilst still at Hogwarts, and creating one requires something bad. And he did actually create a Horcrux whilst he was a student. We know this because of the Chamber of Secrets, Tom Riddle's diary. He used the basilisk to Moaning Myrtle! So whilst other students were worrying about potions homework, Tom Riddle was worried about, well, how do I achieve immortality by Avada Kedavraing my classmates? Oh, also, he opened the Chamber of Secrets. and Hagrid was blamed. And then expelled. So students can get expelled from Hogwarts, and he was expelled for something he didn't even do. So in conclusion, Tom Riddle should have been expelled years before any of this happened. So this part is a cursed child spoiler. I'm going to keep it pretty tame. I'm not going to give away too much, but if you don't want to know anything about the cursed child, if you haven't seen it yet, just skip to this part of the video. So yeah, this is Albus Potter and Scorpius Malfoy stealing a time turner. Can I just say, time turners should be illegal anyway. I think they do end up being illegal in Cursed Child, but the fact that 13-year-old Hermione got one is insane. So in Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, Albus and Scorpius become obsessed with trying to save Cedric Diggory. They learn about this existence of a time turner being kept under ministry supervision, and they steal it. They then accidentally create a dystopian timeline. Cursed Child is nuts. So should Albus and Scorpius be expelled? Yeah, but they had a lot more problems to deal with. So on the subject of students getting expelled, I was also wondering how many teachers should have been fired. So I've made a list for that as well. Okay, this one is really interesting, but it's Mad-Eye Moody turning Draco into a ferret. So in Goblet of Fire, Draco starts to make rude comments about Harry's father. Moody is there and witnesses everything, and rather than giving Draco detention, he turns him into a ferret, because that's the most reasonable thing to do. But McGonagall does immediately object this whole situation. However, let's be reminded that Moody actually isn't Moody. The person teaching at Hogwarts is actually Barty Crouch Jr. What a plot twist that was. From Hogwarts' perspective, the new Defense Against the Dark Art teacher just turned one of its students into a ferret, and somehow he still keeps his job. So this behaviour is strange, yeah, but people just kind of saw it as, well, it's just Mad-Eye being Mad-Eye. So, should the teacher have been fired? Absolutely. Next is an interesting one. It's Professor Slughorn basically collecting influential students. Influential? You know when you say a word and it just doesn't sound right? Slughorn basically creates informal groups of student he considers promising or influential. And he calls it the Slug Club. He invites students to parties, dinners, and social gatherings because he thinks that one day they might become important. So Slughorn is basically networking with a bunch of teenagers. It is a little bit odd. So should Slughorn be fired for this? Probably not, I guess, but he definitely deserved a conversation with the headmaster. So here's a very obvious one. Dolores Umbridge using the blood quill. So when writing with a blood quill, instead of ink, it uses your blood. Harry is forced to write, "I must not tell lies," and the wound remains on his hand. Umbridge is a teacher with authority, deliberately inflicting injury on a student. And also, she doesn't just use it on Harry, she uses it on loads of students. So why doesn't Dumbledore immediately fire her? Well, because Umbridge wasn't appointed by Dumbledore. She was sent to Hogwarts by the Ministry of Magic. The fact that she was still able to use a blood quill shows how much political protection she actually had. So here's an interesting one that I thought of, and that's Professor Sprout leaving Neville unconscious on her classroom floor. During herbology, Professor Sprout is teaching them about mandrakes, and Neville ends up being knocked unconscious by them. And instead of the scene becoming a huge medical emergency, the lesson basically carries on. Oh, well, just leave him there. Hogwarts should probably have a first aid policy. So, should Sprout have been fired? Possibly. Here's a big one. Professor Snape and his treatment to Harry and the students. I mean, from Harry's first potion lesson, Snape makes it very clear that he dislikes him. He immediately singles Harry out with questions designed to embarrass him. He's asking Harry about terminology and questions about potions that he won't even know, then mocks him when he doesn't even know the answer. He's cruel to numerous of students, including Neville. Snape threatens to test Neville's potion out on Trevor, and he tells Neville that if the potion doesn't work, Trevor will suffer the consequences. And obviously, Neville is terrified. Hermione also gets targeted too. In Prisoner of Azkaban, when Hermione offers an answer, Snape dismisses her with 5 points from Gryffindor from being an insufferable know-it-all. He's literally punishing his student for being smart. So why didn't Dumbledore intervene? Because he should have. I mean, the argument is Snape is working for Voldemort, the whole double agent thing. Dumbledore trusts him, but that doesn't make Snape's treatment to children acceptable. Snape is protecting Harry's life whilst also making his school life miserable. So, should Snape be fired? Yeah. That's the end of my list. Oh, no, it's not. Most of the characters from Hogwarts Legacy definitely would have been expelled. But this video would have been so long if I went on to that. The main character, they break so many rules, but it's so much fun to play. Oh, Revelio. Like Sebastian Sallow, even Poppy Sweeting. Mine now, Demiguise? So to end this video, I'm just going to say, did anyone actually break the rules? Or were there just not enough rules at Hogwarts? Put that on a t-shirt. I'm going to move back to the middle. Hey! But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this week's video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and also comment some others that I might have missed. And I'll see you next time. Love you, bye!